starting, I want to get back to kind of the internal operational part of things, but I wanted to first talk a little bit about, you mentioned the stitching customer identities together. And I do think that's a big consideration for, how customers are thinking about buying a CDP and implementing a CDP. So, you mentioned there's a few different ways of thinking with that. What are the considerations that an enterprise should be keeping in mind when they're thinking about, what should be stitching those together? And, I think you touched on some of it, but, just to kind of double click on that a little bit.
Yeah. So I would say one is understand what the use cases are for the identity you're trying to create or define.
Yeah.
So, if it's a direct mail or email based use case, then you need to take, one approach to identity. If it's paid media and you're trying to do kind of anonymous retargeting or reactivation of users to your site who didn't authenticate, then it's a completely different form of identity because you're activating that across different channels. Now, I'm not saying they can't all be stitched together into one kind of consistent profile, but the reality is identity is not a singularity. You need to have different notions of identity that are going to be activated across different use cases and different channels. So one is, again, start with the understanding around that use case. And then from there, I think you need to work your way back and understand, okay, do I have the data that I need to support that notion of identity? And if not, do I need to augment that with different sources of identity or create kind of a more probabilistic view of identity based on the data that I do have? So as an example, if you're trying to do authenticated user email-based targeting and you're integrating data from multiple CRM systems that hasn't been integrated before, which is a very common use case, right? Then you need to probably do some form of probabilistic identity resolution. Take the, first name, last name, physical address, phone number, email address, assign some weight, do some clustering, create a golden profile, and, define that authenticated identity from there. CDPs did not invent this, right? This has been part of MDM solutions for decades now. I think CDPs put a lot of fancy marketing material on Customer 360 and identity resolution, but the reality is nothing has really changed there in the last 15 years.
Right.
They've probably done it more specific to customer data and a use case than MDMs have historically, and there was a niche market for that. But it's really kind of standard probabilistic identity resolution. The kind of other angle is on the paid media side, right? So let's say you're getting anonymous data, you have devices, you have maids that you're collecting from your users on your site or maybe your mobile app. There, the goal is maximizing addressability and reach for the campaigns that you're going to run across different paid media systems. To do that, you might need to augment with third-party data, right? Be able to append, different device IDs into kind of a singular identity based on some third-party graph that you're integrating into your ecosystem, or augmenting kind of the ID that you have with different IDs that can be activated across the different paid media ecosystems. So you might need to think about augmenting what you have in your first-party data if your goal is activation across a digital ecosystem, where you're trying to maximize for reach and addressability. And the reality is you probably have to do both of these things, right? It's not either or. It's just understanding what the use cases are and then backing into the capabilities that you would need to support them.